Namaskara. Uh, I was expecting this to be a panel discussion, but since my co-panelists have not yet turned up, so the stage is all mine and you have to listen to me. My name is Anuradha Goyal. I started my career as a technology IT person like most people in Bangalore. But somewhere on the way, destiny made me a travel blogger. So I started traveling around the country, writing about my travels. And somewhere my travels kept getting narrower. They became heritage travel, art travel. I started studying the Indian art and art history. And somewhere while I was doing that, I started studying a lot of temples, and then I started studying a lot of Devi temples, and then I started reading a lot of Indian scriptures. So when people ask me, what do? I don't know which box to slot myself in. I believe my job is to connect the dots between culture and technology, between the past and the present, between boxes that seemingly seem unrelated, boxes that we think have nothing to do with each other. Okay? I have learned the culture of this land by traveling around. Absolutely by traveling around. I have zero training in what I do today. Let me give you an example of the lived culture, and this is straight from my book, which is called Lotus in the Stone, which is my travelogue of, and my travel story of discovering India. When you go to places like Mathura, or Braj Mandal, as we say, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan Parvat, where you hear a lot of Krishna Leela. You hear about the Leelas of Shri Krishna. You always see him with Radha. You see him as a child, at max a teenager, who is doing a lot of naughty stuff. He's doing everything that a young boy, a teenager does. But the moment you move to Dwarka, which is where he lived as a grown-up man, as a married man, as a family man, you see all his temples with Rukmani, or with his 8 wives, with parents, with children, with his brother, his sister-in-law, their children, the extended family, the Kul Devta, the Kul Guru. He's a complete family man. Now, the same goes for Sri Ram. You know, we all know the story of Ramayana. When you go to Ayodhya, you see Sri Ram as Ram Lalla, or you see him as Raja Ram. You go to Mithila, beautiful place from where Sita ji comes. You go to Janakpur, and all you see is the Ram Janki Vivaha. You see all the songs, all the culture, all the anecdotes of that place. You will see the women of Mithila even today teasing him because it's their right as the women who gave a daughter to Sri Ram. They still will not take anything from Ayodhya or Awadh because that's where they gave a daughter way back in Treta Yuga. You come down south where he traveled as a Vanvasi, you see all his murtis at Kodandaram, you know, someone holding a bow, because that's how South India saw him. So what this tells you, and what these experiences, nuanced experiences at these key places, and I can go into a lot of details, but I'll restrict myself to this. What they tell us is much more than what any data analytics can tell me. You know, there is a lot of research, a lot of our friends are doing in terms of dating, in terms of saying whether Dwarka was 10 kilometers here or 20 kilometers there. It doesn't matter. What matters is the lived culture, you know. So Mathura, at some point in time, saw Balakrishna. So he continues to live there as Balakrishna. Same for Ayodhya. So that's the beauty of the lived culture. And that you can only experience if the culture continues to live, which in my own lifetime of about 50 years, I feel in 20 years, we are simply chopping ourselves off the culture. Till about 20, 25 years, or let's say till about liberalization, this culture continued to live pretty much like Muthuji said, it quietly kept living in the backgrounds. But now we are reducing culture to something that has to be demonstrated, jingoism, but we are not really living it. But can we make it living? Can we make it a part of our lives? Is a question that I wanted to leave I was expecting a lot of students here, so I expected them to do. Uh, I'll give you an example of lived culture. Uh, we all go to museums when we travel. Now, what is the legacy of the museums? Museums came when the colonial powers came, and they found these exotic pieces of murtis with multiple hands, with strange iconography, which they couldn't decipher, and they thought this is something that belongs to the past. So they started putting them in the museums as a showcase of something dead. But we know that none of these murtis belong to a dead culture. We continue to worship the same deities. These are the murtis of Shiva, Ram, Krishna, Vishnu, Devi, various forms of Devi, the same deities that we continue to worship. So should they be kept in museums, or should they be brought back into worship wherever they can be, or given a end-of-life treatment as per the Shastras, whatever the Shastras recommend? Okay? Should we have more museums? It's okay to have a museum of partition because that's something that happened and a lot of us need to know about it. But should we have museums dedicated to things that are still living? And I'm specifically talking about our devotional art. Okay? Should they be there? Should we let them be? And go to any ASI museums, you'll see piles of murtis lying everywhere. And they're just simply lying in a storehouse. So should we treat our living heritage, our living culture through this? Number 3, we've looked at culture, or at least based on our education post-independence, we've started looking at culture as something good to have, but not needed to have for our livelihood. It's not something that's integral to us, something that you keep home, you don't bring to office, you don't bring to school, you don't bring to college. But we've not looked at culture as a tool to implement some very, very tough things. And I'm going to give you a very, very mundane example. We have this whole industry which is called weight loss industry or wellness industry. And dietitians, nutritionists can give you charts and give you, your eating routines. But we all know that, one side of our favorite dish, and we let go of that routine. But the moment you say, I'm on upavas, nobody forces you. Your own sankalp works, and the sankalp of the society to not let you break that upavas works. That's how the culture works. That's how the culture kind of helps you keep a rhythm in your life. And this culture can be a solution to a lot of our modern day problems, or eternal problems, if I can say. But if we use it as a tool, if we don't disconnect it and present it as something good to have. Third, we've outsourced culture. The reason film industry, or Bollywood as it is called, dominates so much of our lives. Everywhere, any advertisement, they are selling everything. They are giving us gyan on everything. Why are they doing it? Because we've completely outsourced our culture to that. Till 30 years back, if we had a wedding in the family, I come from north of India where we have a lot of singing and dancing at our weddings. And I'm sure they were part of every region of India. People used to sing themselves, people used to dance themselves, people used to write lyrics. There were events where, a bride's sisters or friends have to write a poetry to give her as a gift, or the groom has to recite poetry before he's allowed to take the bride home. And all this was done by writing, by creative expression. You don't have to be the best, but you had to be original. Today, we've completely outsourced. We used to have Lady Sangeet where each one of us sang, and we sang what we felt like singing. There was a template, but you could fill in the gaps and make it your own. There was creativity involved, from food to every part of an event or a celebration. But today, you go to any wedding, you just go, you sit, you eat and come, and somebody's performing, everything is outsourced. And eventually, everything is outsourced to the film industry because the source of what we are consuming is there. Be it your clothes, be it your food, be it your entertainment, be even the rituals. You know, we've let go of our own rituals to adopt something that we've seen on a larger screen. And what this has done is, it's taken out the everyday creativity out of us and made a profession out of it. We need to bring it back into our lives. Everyday creativity or an annual creativity based on our festivals give us ample opportunities to practice and carry forward that creativity. So you take the festival of Navratri, you have, in south of India, you have, Golu decoration. So everybody does it their own way. Or you have rangolis, columns, or you have the wall paintings, you have the basic decoration of the place. We are outsourcing every damn thing to somebody who we think can do it better than us. So can we bring that back into our lives, the basic creativity, and believe me, that also feeds into our professional lives. We have creativity workshops, we have innovation workshops when we try to make people do innovative, creative stuff, but we forget that there are rituals which at a periodic, in a periodic way, keep feeding us into or keep nudging us to be creative so that we never lose our creative edge. So that's one thing that I think we need to do. Then, there is a business of culture, and there is culture in every business, pretty much like finance. There are companies which are specialized in finance, and there is a finance in every company. Every company, every organization or every business that exists has to have finance as part of it. But there are companies which specialize in finance. Similarly, cultural entrepreneurship is something that I don't think has been looked upon very nicely. We probably think of tourism industry as cultural industry, but they are pretty much a logistics industry focused on selling rooms and selling airplane seats or whatever seats, taxis. They are pretty much in the business of logistics. The cultural entrepreneurship is something that is waiting to happen, pretty much like the 10 things that we saw in the energy segment. I wish we could, by the time we have it next time, we can have these dashavatars of the cultural organizations also. But whatever organization we work for, can we induce an element of culture in it is something that I want to leave you with. I think one of my favorite things that I want to leave a thought with you is temples. I study a lot of temples. I write about a lot of temples. And what I figured out that at the time in our history when the temples were at their peak, when the best temples had been built around the 10th, 11th century, just before the wave of invasions came, the temples were a living entity. They were a multi-nodal agency. They were not just a place to worship. They were our courts, they were our social places, they were our celebration places, they were our schools, they were our hospitals, they were our banks, they were our granaries, and they were there as a common cultural place, which you could use in any which way. Today, we've created 20 different entities out of what our temples used to do at one point in time. Today, you have this hall can only be used for a certain purpose. You have a school which can only be used for teaching. You have a court which can only be used for judgments. For our temples to get back the glory that they had, they have to be more intertwined with our lives. So one thing I've started doing, and I've not yet been successful, that when somebody asks me for a meeting, I say, let's meet in a temple. Not many people have said yes as of now today, but I think this is something that we can simply start by using our temples as meeting places or for small gatherings, or for solving small little problems, brainstorming sessions in the presence of divine. Probably you'll get some divine intervention when you are looking for new ideas. So can we bring back temples into everyday use? Everybody wants to go to Kashi Vishwanath, everybody wants to go to Jagannath Puri, but nobody wants to go to the temple next door. While the most important temple for you is the temple next to your home, because you live in the Adhishtatra Devata of your place is where you live, and the temple around you. And those are the temples that need rejuvenation, that need a cultural renaissance of a kind. So this is all I wanted to say. Oh, Abbas is here. Hi. Thank you.